Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 51 of the New Slang Podcast. I'm Thomas Mooney, and on this episode we're joined by singer-songwriter Matthew Szlachetka. He just recently released a new record called Heart of My Hometown. So if you're looking for it on iTunes, he does just perform under his last name, so that's what you'll search for. He was here in Lubbock a couple weeks back for a couple of days, and on one of those days he sat down with me to talk about his new record and just some background information on living in Los Angeles and why he moved to Nashville and whatnot. So he's actually going to be here in town again on May 2nd. I believe that's a Wednesday. So go ahead and mark your calendars or put it in your phone or whatever you do. You'll want to see him perform again here in Lubbock. As far as wide open country stuff goes, I just recently released a piece about Bob Dylan's Nashville skyline. It just turned 49 years old yesterday, and when it was released, it was kind of dismissed as kind of this flimsy record since it was only 27 minutes long or so, and one of the songs was, this instrumental, and a lot of people just, thought it was Dylan mailing it in because it's a quote country record, and in 1969 there was a lot of other important things going on, so they thought he needed to be writing protest songs and whatnot. But time always shows just how important stuff can be later, and that is one of these records that is just a seminal moment for Nashville. It kind of helped diversify the music scene. A lot of singer-songwriters ended up moving there or recording records there. Everyone from like Neil Young to Leonard Cohen to obviously Dylan, the Byrds. It also helped make Nashville a little bit more of a singer-songwriter town. You had a lot of singer-songwriters move up there, such as Mickey Newberry, Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, Chris Christopherson. They all kind of got record deals after this point in the mid-70s, and it's just a really important record as far as Nashville goes, but it also kind of helped spark the alternative country rock kind of thing. At the time in '68, you had the Byrds release Sweetheart of the Rodeo, and the band also released music from Big Pink. And what really kind of spurred that on, though, was Dylan's venture into country music. I know technically Skyline is the year after, but like they're all kind of really influenced by Dylan. And anyways, I know I don't want to just ramble on here about Nashville Skyline for too long because I'll end up just doing an entire podcast on it. So go to Wide Open Country and read the article about Skyline. And if you haven't told any of your friends about the New Slang Podcast, suggest it to them if they like music, if they like hearing conversations about music. If you haven't already rated the New Slang Podcast on iTunes, go ahead and do so. Give us a 5-star review. Tell all your friends and whatnot to subscribe. If you haven't followed us on any social media, you can go on Facebook and search for New Slang. That's where you can find our podcast. On Twitter, you can do the same. And anyways, I won't take up too much more of your time with this intro. So here is the conversation with Matthew Szlachetka.
There were more than that.
Was there?
I think it was I feel like it was close to 20 or 30 people. Like I was really blown away with.
Well, see, I had heard somebody say there was very little people, and then this last time there was a bunch.
Yeah, there were probably 60 people there, maybe even more. It was a good crowd.
Yeah. What do you think it is that do you often see those things happen when you're out on the road? See that, I guess that bluegrass or that grassroots kind of growth?
Yes and no. I mean, I was just itching to get back to Lubbock after the previous show, and yeah, I mean, I think they were realistically, I think they were like between, I would say closer to 30 because I was like blown. I mean, if it was like 7 people, I would have been like, yeah, whatever. It was expected because I think I played on a Tuesday, but it was somewhere like around 30, you know, maybe even a little bit more. You know what I mean? And I was just really taken by it, you know, and I was just like, how the hell did you know about the show and how did you come out? Because, you know, I was just like, I just wanted to get in because I was passing through, and, you know, I'd heard the Blue Light was a great venue, and, you know, I just wanted to make a good first impression, you know. And,
right.
Everyone was like, well, we went to the website, we looked at the lineup who was playing, and we went to your website and we listened to your music, and we liked it, we told our friends, and we came out, and I was just like, wow, that's awesome. You know, it doesn't always happen like that, you know what I mean? It you know, sometimes, you know, it takes a long time to just get some sort of buzz going on in a town, and I just feel really fortunate for this town. You know, it's definitely, I don't know what it is, it's got something, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's got people that are willing to listen, and a lot of people these days aren't, you know, and it's a sad thing, you know?
Right. There's so much of the, and I don't know, maybe it's always been this way, but like a lot of people always just kind of take music as just background noise. And,
yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if you were playing original music or doing cover band or something. Right. You know, they're just there for a good time. Mm-hmm. But obviously, like, there's pockets of places where people care about songwriting and original music.
Yeah.
You lived out in LA for like a long time, right?
Yeah. So I originally from New England, and I moved to California right after college, and I moved to San Diego first for like 4 years, and I was in LA for 12 years. And I moved to Nashville as of this coming Tuesday. Wait, no, as of yesterday. Wait, no. What was as of Tuesday this week? I've been a year resident, you know, in Nashville. Yeah. I bought a house there and stuff, and you know, I was just going there really frequently over the last 3 years, you know, and it just started to really feel like home, and I built up a really good, you know, network of friends and colleagues, and I had that gut feeling, and, you know, LA had just been changing a lot, in my opinion. I'll always love it, but it was time for a change. Yeah,
well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what prompted the move? Was it just more or less just business ventures and just feeling more comfortable there?
I think it was a lot of things. It was one, always being on the road and getting sick of paying exorbitant amounts of rent, you know, and not living in a living situation that I wanted to be living in. And two, I think the music scene really changed in LA. I'll probably take some heat for that, but in my opinion, like when I first moved to LA, I think there was much more of a well-rounded scene, and there was much more of like a rootsy singer-songwriter scene where, you know, there's more variety, I think, and it was easier to get cuts with other artists, get licensing situations on shows and movies, and there's just more of a scene, I think, you know, and I think just year after year, like, it just started slowing down. I mean, a lot of people I know that I met in LA and I'm good friends with, you know, live in Nashville now, you know, and on top of that, that was a factor, but, you know, because I write for and with a lot of other artists, and it's just not really the scene anymore in LA, you know. I mean, it was for a long time, but, you know, that's what Nashville's about, you know, and it always has been about that, and I love collaborating with people, and I just started writing with more and more people there, and really, really talented writers, and, I mean, I write with some really talented writers in LA, but it's just a different community, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, that along with the touring facets, you know, I mean, it's so much easier to tour out of Nashville, and it's just, you're pretty isolated on the West Coast. And I think, you know, where Nashville's located, I feel like it's located closer to a lot of like really rewarding markets where, you know, like Lubbock, you know, people want to listen, they want to listen to something new, they don't want to just listen to the same stuff that's just crammed down their throat from, you know, the same old radio stations, like, you know, same playlists and everything. They don't want to hear Stairway to Heaven 30 times a day. You know? They're willing to take a chance on somebody new and somebody with something different to say. that along with I with this album having just dropped, I really am trying to do as many full band shows as I can versus always having to tour solo acoustic to make my living. And just living in Nashville, you can do like a Thursday through Saturday or Thursday through Sunday full band scenario anywhere from 3 to 5 hours around Nashville, way easier than being on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So those were all a lot of reasons, and the ability to buy a house, because I wouldn't have never been able to buy a house in LA.
Right. Yeah. It always feels to me like virtually, I don't think anyone around here knows too much about like the LA scene, if you will. I don't feel like it's part of our knowledge, if you will. But there's always been great music to come out of
Absolutely,
LA.
And there still is.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just, in my opinion, I think LA is definitely more focused on a pop or indie band thing. Where image is really important. And I'm not saying image is an important thing, but I feel like that sort of thing takes precedent over content and musicianship and everything.
Right.
And that being said too, LA has some of the best musicians in the world as well, and studios and producers and all that stuff. But I think as a whole, I just felt that there was much more like a supportive thing in Nashville, and it seemed like a better fit for me personally.
Right.
There's a lot of people that they thrive in LA, and I don't have any regrets living there for as long as I did. I'm really fortunate for the amount of time I spent there, but it was like everything. It was just time for a change. I feel like I kind of hit a wall where I didn't think that I could, keep progressing in my career if I had stayed there. I could have been doing the same thing and maybe living doing it, but from where I want to go, I didn't think that it was the right fit.
Right. Yeah. Nashville, I think, is such a cool town.
Yeah.
Like, people from Texas, typically, there's like that Texas-Nashville fake battle, if you will. But Nashville really is the hub of country music, obviously, but Americana stuff. Like, people don't realize just how diverse Nashville is. There's like a reason why like Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys and like Jack White.
Yeah.
All these other rock and roll guys live there, because it's such a much more diverse place than I think a lot of people around Texas actually believe or realize. Was that part of it too? Was just like,
it's just there's something just really inspiring about Nashville. Just the consistent level of musicianship is just it's flooring. There's always the joke, like even your cab driver's like a better guitar player than you. It just the thing I've really sensed too is I feel like there's more of a love of music in Nashville. If that, I don't want that to sound cliche, but I feel like people are more willing to just play because they love playing still.
Right.
And I feel like in LA, a lot of times it's kind of more like I'm on the clock, like let's hurry this up. You know what I mean?
Is there something to the effect of like, because there's just so much more stuff to do, you know what I mean? Like there's other things you can do other than just play music, you know what I mean? Like there's
you can do anything you want in LA. It is a wonderful city, and I'm definitely fortunate for the network of people I have there. But it's a huge city, and the driving thing is an issue. Getting around in an efficient manner is an issue. Nashville's getting a little bit more traffic now, but from my standpoint, it's still really easy to get around. But I really like that. The thing with Nashville is like you can realistically plan a bunch of engagements in a day and not dismanage people's expectations.
Yeah.
Like I know when I was going out all the time when I was still living in LA, I would plan like 1 or 2 nights a day, have like a couple meetings, and then either have a show that night or like, meet a couple people, catch up with them for drinks or a meal or something, and it was a super productive day. LA is like, man, plant one thing maybe, and then I got to be on the road because traffic's going to hit it, you know,
Yeah.
1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, but it's I don't know. It's a cool scene there, you know. And I just think I think having such a focus and importance of the craft of the song, I think that's just everything. 'Cause I've always been such I've always been such a person that really values like a good song, a good crafted song, you know. And at the end of the day, it's like that's what I really live for.
Right. Yeah. I guess like when you first moved to LA though, like how ingrained is like all those like Laurel Canyon kind of artists and like the Eagles
Sure.
and Jackson, how attached are they to the modern LA scene? Because like obviously I don't know. Like,
Sure.
are you able to like do people talk about those records and stuff still, or is that kind of like in the buried in the past?
No, for sure, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anybody from the Eagles still lives in LA. I think Joe Walsh lives down in San Diego now or something like that. Because I think he lives in North County, San Diego, actually. Because some people that I used to hang with when I lived there, you know, would always see him out and about. I think like in Encinitas or something. But Jackson Browne always still goes out. I mean, he's a pretty inspiring human being. I mean, he's still out all the time, watching shows, sitting like I don't know him, but I've met him a few times just from people that I knew he was playing with and stuff, and that's inspiring. You know, it's like he's out and he's still he still obviously has an incredible love for music and live music, and same thing with Benmont Tench. Like he's another person like always out and about, like watching shows, like sitting in with people, playing in other projects, you know. And so it's there. You know, there are people like that always play. I mean, even some of like the classic session guys, you know, like Dean Parks. Like I would see him playing all the time, you know, and at just like the most random places, you know. So it is cool that a lot of those just incredible musicians who helped shape some of my journey are still there and just not just hiding away, you know?
Yeah, because like, I don't know, you always hear stories about, oh, blah, blah was at that show, or like,
right.
Just an example from Nashville is like, you always hear stories of like Jack White peeking in at shows and then just leaving,
right.
watching for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and going on to the next place to hear something else. And, but like with the LA persona of being rock star and movie star, and you always just think of these guys just being more, holed up in their castle somewhere on the beach, instead of necessarily going to all the bars and dives.
I mean, there is that for sure, but I still think that there's still a good amount of people that go out and just like to see music and want to be involved in some sort of scene or community, you know.
Right. This new record of yours, there's a lot of that Tom Petty, Heartland kind of palette for it. How much of that record did you already have written by the time Tom Petty passed? Like
the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean
I didn't know if there was like
record,
more of a touch to it because of.
Sure, that record was recorded 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, and so given all the names attached to it, I wanted to really peel the onion slowly with it, and I didn't want to just release it. I wanted to make sure that it was released properly, and I wanted to have a good team behind me to help do that. And getting back to Tom Petty, like David Bianco produced it, engineered it, mixed it, and he won a Grammy for engineering Tom Petty's album Wildflowers. He also worked on the Long After Dark and Southern Accents record. I mean, he did the last 3 Lucinda Williams records, a bunch of records by Springsteen, Dylan, Mick Jagger. I mean, his discography is stupid. I mean, it like doesn't end between stuff that he's produced, engineered, or mixed. I mean, and working with him was a life-changing experience. And working with him, Brian Lucy from Magic Garden Mastering mastered it. He's done all the Black Keys and Dan Auerbach records. He did the last 3 Lucinda records as well, along with the Doyle Bramhall record that just came out. And I mean, he did like a lot of major records, and he did a wonderful job mastering that record. Had a bunch of great writers on it as well, and just some of the players, was really, really good.
Yeah.
Wrote another song with Jamie Wyatt. She sings on a few songs as well, but the song "Giving Back the Best of Me" that we wrote, she cut on her record, Fell in the Blues.
Did you guys?
That's me playing guitar.
Is she like? I guess she's like from LA too, right?
Yeah, that's where I met. I met her within the first month of moving to LA, and we became friends immediately. And so I've known her for a long time.
Yeah.
We've played music a lot together, written a lot together. On her record, I played a bunch of guitar, and she cut "Giving Back the Best of Me."
Yeah.
That's me playing guitar on that.
Well, that's cool.
And
I know, like she's played here a few times.
Yeah,
and
she's really talented.
Yeah, I think she's I guess like she and like as far as like people I would say that a lot of Americana fans know from like the LA scene would be her and like Sam Outlaw and folks like that. But it's like touchstone pieces or people. But yeah, I think I can't wait to see what she does next.
Yeah.
So, what were you gonna say?
Some of the other writers, like my other buddy Jamie Kent, we wrote 4 songs, including the title track. Scott Underwood, who was the original drummer of the band Train, we wrote 2 songs on the record. And then Jeff Silbar, who he's another one of my regular writing partners in LA. He wrote "Wind Beneath My Wings." So he came in, and it was a lot of fun to write with him. But then players-wise, like Doug Pettibone played all the pedal steel and some additional like rhythm guitar parts and mandolin. And then Kevin Saviger played most of the keyboard stuff, and he's been with Rod Stewart's like right-hand man since the late '70s, and pretty much played on all his records, produced a bunch of them, mixed a bunch of them too, and he's written a bunch of hits for Rod. And then like some of my regular LA guys who played on the record, like Derek Brown on drums, Shaban Bhattacharya on bass, Dave Lang played a little bit of keyboards, and then Jamie sang some harmonies. Jamie Kent, Megan Slankert, and Jeff Campbell sang some harmonies, and I think that's it. Personnel. And Jalinda Palmer sang harmonies too.
Yeah. Did you? To me, it feels like such a summer record, like
Sure.
such a like just driving around, out of traffic and with the windows down kind of thing.
I'll take that.
Did you? Well, I mean, like, when did you record this record? Was it all like at one time, or was it spaced out? I know you said 2 years ago, but
the funny thing about it is, so basically, pretty much 2 years ago in February, we recorded the record, and it took like a month between pre-production, recording it, mixing it, and mastering it. It was super quick. And so the album was in the can, and I started just trying to find a team, and then slowly releasing singles. Like I released the title track first as a single and video, and then started to get a little bit of traction from that, got a little bit of attention, and then I think it was that summer I wrote "Wildflowers on the Highway," and I was like, man, this song needs to go on the record, and so started getting really good feedback from that, and so I went back in, recorded it, and then that was the final piece. And then I moved to Nashville and finalized situations like with my management, and then all the other kind of things that came together to help put the record out. And then we released "Wildflowers" as a single, and then video, and then released the album. So between press that came out like with Rolling Stone and everything else, we kind of pushed back the release like 3 times. So I was like really ready to release the record.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited that it's finally, getting out there in the world and finally getting some recognition. And I'm at the point where I can't wait to record the next one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Is like, if there's one thing I've learned talking with musicians and artists is that period between when you finish recording and when it's released, that's the period where y'all got tired of the record already in a way. You know what I mean? It's like you've known that record for a long time and you're already ready for the next thing, and that's just like right when everyone else is starting to catch up.
Exactly.
It's such a weird I guess, like, thing, really, because I mean, like, that's when everyone else starts learning about it and starts really digging the record or hating the record or whatever, hearing the record, and y'all are ready to already move on. What is that like? What is that, I guess, not necessarily anxiety, but like, what's the feeling of having already finished the record and knowing that you have to get all those ducks lined up in a row to actually make something of it?
Yeah, man, that's the definition of patience right there. It's tough. I mean, it was really tough for me just because, I'm a person that moves like really, really fast, and I'm glad that I put the brakes on, because if I didn't, I don't think that, it would have the impact that it's been creating so far, I wish, that I could have released it, within the same year that I recorded it. But I'm glad that I waited. And I think that's probably the hardest part for most musicians, bands and artists, is just, you want to record it, you want to get it out now, you know what I mean? I think, timing is almost even more important than the actual recording of it. I mean, that's obviously huge, and you don't want to make a bad record, but I think, timing can make or break a record, putting out the wrong time, so it's that's the hardest part.
Yeah. This record, it sounds so cohesive. Like, it feels so like a record. It doesn't feel like just a bunch of songs together. With the collaboration though, with the co-write aspect, like how do you I guess know what songs are supposed to fit together when you're working with so many different co-writers, if you will?
Yeah. I don't know. I have a vibe with like a lot of the songs that I write that I kind of know will be used for me. But I brought 35 songs to Dave Bianco, and we whittled it down to 10. And the rest of the songs that we didn't end up cutting, like I'd really like to cut at some point. I guess there's a lot of things that I kind of revert back to, like Tom Petty, because I think every song should count on a record. I don't believe in like filler songs. I think every song should be good. Every song should have a great chorus. Every song should be really cool, and have some sort of magic to it. I would hate to just ever record a song and just be like, oh, we need like 3 minutes added to this record. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I think talking, because Dave helped pick out the songs. I had a good idea of what I thought would work, but we went through a lot of the stuff, and then we kind of, I think, swapped out a few. So
yeah. So many of those songs too, they go back to the highway, the road, and like that give and take, if you will. Are you always constantly writing? Are you able to write on the road? Because I know some people just really can't.
Yeah, I do a lot of cataloging on the road. Just because right now, like, a lot of times I'm by myself. Fortunately, I'm a tour manager or somebody who can break up the driving, or but so I'll basically get a good batch of lyrics, titles, melodies, and like guitar riffs, and I'll just kind of, every time I get back to Nashville, I'll have like a new folder of stuff to work with. It's pretty rare these days that I sit down and like just write a song from scratch. Usually it's like something I've been kind of sitting with for a while. But when I do sit down, I'll write it.
Right.
It's I usually don't have the time right now or luxury to like, wow, I just got an idea, I'm gonna go write that. You know what I mean? So
when you go into a co-write, that's one of the things that I'm thoroughly interested in, is like the idea and the art of a co-write.
Yeah.
Because it's such a like, there's so many different ways to do a co-write, right? For you, like, do you typically go in thinking, oh, I'm going to be writing with this person. This person kind of has this touch to a lot of songs. So here's 2 ideas. Or like, what is your process, your mindset usually going into a co-write?
Sure. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm at a point now where I kind of have like my group of writers that I'm really comfortable with, and for me too, it's like really wanting to write with somebody that you enjoy spending time with. Because a lot of times these days, even that game is harder and harder to get cuts. So it's my mentality is like, if we're gonna spend time together, let's just try to write the best song we can. You have an attitude like you've got everything to lose, so let's just do the best song we can. And I usually, by the time I hit a chorus, I'll know that if it's a song that I would use, or if it's something that the person I'm writing would use, or if it's, we kind of have it as a catalog idea.
Yeah.
But I always try to go to any sort of write just well prepared, between like having a few music ideas, whether it's a riff or cool progression that might have some little twist to it, or some really cool non sequitur lyrics, or a title, or like a melody, or like a chorus. So either any one of those ingredients I like to have with me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I'm still just like, I guess, paranoid. I don't ever want to be the guy that shows up to a writing session like, I don't know, what do you have? You have anything? I don't have anything today. Like, I always want to come like really prepared.
Man, I just thought about this because I've not actually thought about it in a while, but this was one of my favorite things to talk about. Was I read it was like an old Bob Dylan interview, and I think it was like an unreleased one. It was like an American Songwriter a couple years back, but like the interview was done in like the early 80s, I think. Anyways, he was talking about how the most difficult thing for him as a songwriter was getting that first thing that sparked him, that initial thought, that initial emotion, into the final version of the song.
Right.
Like, how difficult is that for you? Like, to get that, whatever that sparked you to begin with, into that, make sure it, like, through all the twists and turns of writing it, into the final version.
I don't know really. Something comes to me, and I just kind of have, I guess, the sense from doing it for a while, like where I know it needs to go. And the people that I write with, I trust. So that always helps too. But just kind of feeling it out, and then also kind of exercising different options of wording, phrasing, possibly messing around with different chord progression. But I don't know. I just have a sense usually where I think a song needs to go.
Right.
Whether it's within the verse, or like by the time it needs to get a chorus, or
Yeah. What's the, like on this record specifically? What's the song that changed the most? Like from the whatever idea you had, or even in the studio.
Well, that's the thing too. When I write, I usually like to try to write pretty concisely. Within like 3 to 4 minute marker. Just because like I would hate to get into the studio and have to like trim the fat versus being like, let's add something to it. And that's what happened with this record. I would say the song that probably, there were a bunch of things that Dave just really shaped in a really nice way. Ready to Run Again was definitely one of those. The first chorus, it's like a pre-chorus teaser. You don't really get into that full chorus until the second one.
Right.
He was like, give him a teaser there. He's like, give him a teaser, go right back into the verse. I'm like, that's cool, And then he was like, this song needs a guitar solo. And I was like, I originally had thought that it was just going to be like that 3 minute, in and out, like radio friendly song. And I kind of actually fought him on it first, and then I remember when we got the take we needed where it didn't have the solo. He just like chimed in on the talk, like he's like, this needs a solo. We're gonna work it out right now. I'm like, all right, this is like why I brought you into the picture, and I'm glad we did, because it really helped make the song. And even some of the syncopations, like he had the idea for like what the solo needed to be, in terms of like how it was structured. He was like, whatever you do, like, the first half is yours, but the second half needs to have this like syncopated, like kind of triplets thing going down, like in thirds. And I was like, great, and that was cool. That was something I would have never thought of, And then, the end of that solo where it was like a quarter note triplet thing, he's like, that's how we're gonna end the song. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Heart of My Hometown, like he's like, start the song just with those naked, vulnerable vocals like that, and then break into it. And I originally thought it was just gonna start with like the verse riff,
Yeah.
And he was like, as well, like middle of the song, after the bridge, like go back to that. Like,
Yeah.
Just
Well,
vulnerable.
You carry that on to just like the acoustic version last
Yeah.
night, and I think that's one of those. The first time I heard that song, that was one of those things that really just caught my eye the first time, and then last night when you played it, it's one of those like, oh, there's that moment, like that's a moment.
Hook, man. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. It's like just you gotta have hooks in your songs, and the choruses really just have to jump to have a different feel from your verses. And you gotta have those dynamics in the song.
Mm-hmm. That the title cut right there, Heart of My Hometown. There's so much about the I guess the love-hate relationship with your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something like that with you? Because I feel like everyone kind of getting out of high school always wants to just
I think
get out of.
Absolutely. I think when I plowed through college just because I wanted to get out of New England and moved 3,000 miles away to realize that, wow, New England doesn't suck. Like, New England's a great place to grow up, and I was really fortunate for how I grew up. And, I think that the whole song is about that, and I feel like no matter where you go, there's always going to be part of that in you, whether you believe it or not. Is that wherever you're from, it shapes you, and I think there are people that try to get as far away from it and sometimes don't ever come back. But I think a lot of people they'll go away to experience the world, and then they'll come back too. I think too, from being fortunate to tour all the time that I do, I get to see all these great little towns, and they really remind me of where I grew up, and it's especially nowadays, where just everybody's butting heads. I think that there's a lot more similarities in this country than people are realizing. I think really the big thing is just travel. It's like, unfortunately some people don't have the ability to travel right now. But, I'm telling everybody that a lot of these states, towns, communities, they're all the same, man. And just, I think at the end of the day we all want the same thing, but just have to have the open line of communication,
Yeah. Well, I think like a point on that is just like talk with your neighbors.
Yeah.
You're gonna find out that like no, you know what I mean? Just like talk to the people that you go to at the bar.
Totally.
And strangers. You're gonna realize that everyone, like 90% of the stuff we agree on.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
hopefully
nobody's gonna be able to get everything they want, but everybody's gonna be able to at least walk away from some sort of situation happy and willing to have some sort of compromise.
Yeah. How big of a town did you grow up in?
Well, it's funny because I technically lived in like 2 towns in Western Mass. When I was really little, like we lived in Westfield, Massachusetts, but I was going to elementary school in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is a great community, just because I went to this great elementary school. And then after that, we moved to a town called Long Meadow, which is a suburb of Springfield because of the school systems. And so I kind of had this. I mean, granted, Western Mass isn't like a very large area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking like 15 to 20 minutes within each town.
Right.
So between playing music growing up, and then I played sports competitively for like a long time. Between in between seasons playing like inter-town leagues or other stuff like that, where you're on teams with other people from different towns. Like I had friends from all over Western Mass, so I didn't necessarily just identify with one town. So I was just kind of view Western Mass as like my hometown. And it's so funny, man. Getting back to the Tom Petty thing again, I guess one reason why I mean, there's a lot of people I resonated with, but there's just so much about everything he did that it spoke to me, and it was definitely I found a lot of similarities. Like I've never been somebody that completely identifies with like one club or clique or group. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that he always like just really was adamant about, particularly like when he was starting out and they were trying to pigeon him as like new wave or punk and stuff like that. He's like, dude, we're rock and roll. He's like, I'm not part of a scene. I'm not part of a club. He's like, I'm just playing rock and roll music, and like that's what we do, you know.
Yeah.
And it's got like just a little bit of a new twist on it, you know. That's you know, for me, like I have friends from all different groups, you know, and it's something that I've never wanted to like limit myself with just being identified in one category, you know.
Right.
So,
Tom Petty, like I feel. Have you like ever met anyone who doesn't like Tom Petty? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
it's
at least
like,
like doesn't know
Yeah.
like everyone knows at least Free Fallin' or
Right.
you know something because
Right.
and it's strange because there is this like you're okay guy walking by thinking he was loud. It's okay though. There is this like strange aspect of feeling where Tom Petty is singing about your hometown,
Right.
but like never anything necessarily identifiable and specific about a specific region. Because like he was from Florida, but like I can't really think of anything that he did as being really, you know, Panhandle, Florida.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But you know, it's a perfect example of like, you know, the heart of my hometown thing. It's like there's still a lot of where he grew up that stuck with him and carried with him, even though, you know,
Right.
LA and never looked back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. What is your favorite like Petty record? What is your
Hard question? That's really like a day of the week kind of question. Wildflowers would definitely be one of them. I mean, I am a really big fan of the She's the One soundtrack. I mean, that was basically during a Wildflower session. I mean, that record somehow, I think probably because of timing. I mean, I remember reading about it, and I think it was just how it was released, when it was released. Because there's some amazing songs in that record, and I've been playing some of them out like when I do my full band shows. You know, I like a lot of his, like Echo is one of my favorites, absolutely. Echo is just top to bottom, and you know, because of what they were going through at the time, like that was a record that they kind of, I guess, wanted to sweep under the rug. But that's a wonderful record. I mean, Hard Promises, I mean, Full Moon Fever. I mean, every Tom Petty record has like a good amount of hits on it. I mean, You're Gonna Get It is a great record.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like, you know, Long After Dark is a great record. I mean, Let Me Up, I've Had Enough.
Damn the Torpedoes.
Damn the Torpedoes, obviously. You know, I mean, The Last DJ is a great record. I love that record.
What's
like,
the not his last record, but the one before it?
American or Highway Companion?
Mm.
That one? Or the
Which
Mojo?
Which one has like Saved Grace?
Oh,
Is
that's Highway Companion.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That record right there, especially that specifically that song, I remember
Yeah.
not really listening to new Petty, like post 2000 Petty, and that song like got me back into, or like not got me back into, but got me into like listening to the newest of Petty's,
Right.
if you will, because I just felt like that was such a driving song. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just has that rolling kind of momentum to it.
Totally.
But yeah, going back to your record, Ladder to the Stars.
Yeah.
I feel like that song has like this, you know, sense it has like this old kind of traditional, like even kind of like English traditional folk song aspects to it. Where did that song come from? Where did that originate?
So that's a song I wrote with Jeff Silvar and Jamie Kent, and we wrote that at Jeff's house. And it was the first time I'd ever written with Jeff. And that day we wrote two songs actually. We wrote that song, and we wrote a song called Sheila that Jamie cut on his album called All American Mutt, which came out like a year and a half ago. And that one was the only independent country album to chart on Billboard charts. I think it came in at like 16 on the Billboard charts.
Yeah.
I played on that on his album, but I think Sheila was the song we wrote first that day, and then I had this kind of open tune slide idea that I threw at them, and they kind of we took it down, the idea, which ended up becoming Ladder to the Stars. And it was really a thing where I was just kind of messing around with some like, you know, Mississippi John Hurt fingerstyle guitar stuff, and Jeff started having this idea of, you know, I think he started coming up with a melody a little bit, and just the idea of like a water tower and, you know, kind of like sneaking out of the house when you're a teenager and like loss of innocence type.
There's a little bit of that Southern Gothic aspect to
absolutely. You know, and that's so we just kind of created a little story just based on I think probably all three of our experiences growing up and stuff. You know, and you know that's probably the dark horse on the record. You know, it's got like a bunch of cool like trippy like Zeppelin-y kind of aspects to it. Really cool vocal harmonies and other instrumentation. You know.
Yeah. What?
That was the only song on the record that we didn't cut live as a full band, just because we didn't necessarily know which avenue production-wise we're going to take it. So we basically pieced that one together. Like I laid down the guitar parts, and then I did my vocals over it, and then we just started layering.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great song.
Thanks,
I just really love the production aspects of it.
Yeah.
Just like I said, kind of like that, like a traditional song in a sense, and some of that Southern Gothic aspects too.
Yeah, it has that kind of like beautiful, ominous thing to it, you know.
Right. Yeah. Now, like, obviously you've written a bunch of other songs since then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your favorite thing that you've written in the last?
Man, I mean, first of all, I can't wait to record the next record, but I'm actually kind of terrified because, you know, going into this record, I had 35 tunes, and I mean, this next record, whenever it happens, like whoever is going to produce it, I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to cut it in Nashville, LA, or Memphis, or where, you know, or Muscle Shoals, or I don't know where it would be, but I'm kind of terrified actually because I'm going to have like 100 songs. I mean, it's going to be pretty ridiculous, and just like, you know, whittling them down to like, you know, 10 songs or something.
Yeah.
Just to have that cohesive story, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, man. There's a bunch. Like the new songs I played at the Blue Light last night. Lifeboat is one of my favorites. That is a song I wrote with Tim Jones, who's in this great group called the Whiskey Wolves, and we met Tim shortly after I moved to LA. He was in the hotel cafe scene as well. I mean, he was in that group, the Truth and Salvage Company, and we became fast friends immediately. But it took us 12 years to finally start writing together. We wrote that in Nashville because, you know, he moved to Nashville I think 5 or 6 years ago, and we just kind of pooled our resources of our LA experiences and we wrote that. That's one of my favorites. There's a new song I wrote with Mondo Signs called Old Soul, which I'm really digging. It's been getting a lot of really good feedback as well. Mondo had a few cuts on the latest Leanne Womack record and the last Miranda Lambert record, and a couple of Jack Ingram cuts, and, you know, a lot of other people. But him and I write quite a bit. He actually cut a song that we wrote together called The More I Need. He just did a record with Ken Coomer, who used to be the drummer of Wilco. So that's coming out soon. There's a song I wrote with Adam Wright called Pocket, which has been getting a lot of really good feedback. And I've really been digging that. He pretty much co-wrote the entire Leanne Womack record, played on it as well, and then he currently has the Alan Jackson hit. Plays in Alan's band, and he's had a lot of cuts. Working with him is a real pleasure. I'm trying to think what else I played. A song I wrote with this guy Connor Christian, who I write with a lot, called Over the Edge, which has been getting a lot of good feedback too. That was like a really, really cool kind of riffy finger picker tune that another kind of Southern Gothic ominous kind of vibe to it, about a guy at the gallows, you know, getting ready to be hung and has one more wish, you know, one more request. And then this other song called Here We Are Once Again. I've been really digging playing with that with the gal Michelle Mendico. And so, you know, it comes and goes. There's a bunch of other new ones that I, you know, throw in the set too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
lately, this tour, the past 2 weeks in Texas, those are the songs I've been playing.
Yeah. That's something that I think is really foreign to a whole lot of artists, is the aspect of having a bunch of songs to choose from. Because I know so many bands, so it's like, you know, especially with like a lot of new bands, it's like, I wrote 10 songs. Oh, I got 10 songs. Let's go cut a record.
Right.
And like I have a buddy, Ross Cooper, who moved up to Nashville. And
Yeah, he's friends with a bunch of my friends.
yeah,
I haven't met him yet, but looking forward to it.
he's got a really great record out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys would get along together well.
Cool.
He was talking about how, when he moved up there, in preparation for this record, he was wanting to get about 100 songs, and he got like 75, 70.
Yeah. So he's living in Nashville?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's friends with my buddy Ben Danaher.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Ben and Ross have both been on the podcast, so
Cool.
if you haven't listened to those, go back and listen to those.
I will.
But anyways, like he was talking about just having, I guess, the mentality of working and getting to that level, because
Sure.
I think like that's like treating the art not like a job per se, but like it's
Right.
taking it a little bit more serious and really, I guess, focusing on it more so than just thinking of it as a
Space filler.
exactly, yeah, or like just doing it for the show aspect. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like,
Well, I think it's just, if you're really serious about your craft, you're always going to be trying to outdo what you did previously. And I think particularly if you're going to make a record, man, I mean, that's like permanent.
Yeah.
And it's like you really got to put your best foot forward. And I mean, songs are like children. You're most likely going to at least like most of them. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's like you can always play them live and do the litmus test that way. But really, you gotta pick your best material, because I mean, like I said, I wouldn't ever want, but especially these days with attention spans which don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I would never ever think about putting out a record that had a filler song on it. Like, it's gotta count.
yeah,
So
it's interesting to see like the attention span aspect of just you're able to get anything on Spotify, and there's so much that you can listen to. There's been obviously a lot of talk about are records important, and or like should people just be releasing singles every couple months or EPs?
Mhm.
And I think that those things are so short-sighted in the long run. Like, albums are always going to be important, and not necessarily that every artist is looking to win a Grammy, but
Right.
there's not really been an EP that won a Grammy.
Yeah.
There's not a category for that. So I think like the record is obviously just always going to have that staying power.
Right.
That there's something about the legacy of that.
Right.
So
I do think though that they should reevaluate the criteria for an album though, because I mean, if you go back, albums used to be 6 or 7 songs, which is what an EP is now. I think they should literally consider an EP like a 3 or 4 song collection. You know what I mean? Because I mean, literally, it wasn't until I started doing double albums that albums started jumping up really to like 10 to 12 songs. Most
Yeah.
albums were like under 10. But no, I'm with you though. But I believe in albums. I still do. I listen to albums. I like to listen to an album as a collection.
yeah,
Versus just singles.
right. You last night played Randy Newman.
Yeah.
I think like that he's one of the most underappreciated songwriters out there.
Yeah. I mean, him, Bob Seger, Leon Russell, like J.J.
Right.
Cale,
Yeah.
Ry Cooder, people like that.
I think like what's interesting is that probably like most people, if they know Randy Newman, it's just like his instrumental aspect, like
Right.
but that's really interesting too. Is he's such a great and accomplished singer-songwriter, but then
He's one of the
obviously
best.
like has this other side of the brain working of just
Mhm.
composing all these songs for film.
Yeah.
That he's also done. That's how like what for you, like when were you introduced to Randy Newman? Like when did you start really diving into his ride commentary?
Yeah, I think I probably started hearing about Randy Newman, like in the 80s and early 90s, between some of his classic songs, but then, obviously through some of his film work that he did. And
Mhm.
he's always just an intriguing character, and he's always had a really intriguing voice. Like, there's just a really awesome characteristic to his voice that, at least for me, makes me want to listen. And I think his style of writing, it's always a storyline. You know, it's always a conversation between two characters, or it's always like a conversation between a character and like the world, you know. Or,
Yeah.
and it's just always, it's a really, really interesting style. And I just think his style is so, it's just so uniquely American.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sounds cliche or not, but you know, he just has such a amazing pedigree of having done, you know, his homework of learning a bunch of different American styles. And it's just, you know, it's why he's just such a classic songwriter. You know, he always will be, and he'll be, you know, always remembers like one of the greats.
Yeah.
You know,
He's got such a great sense of humor.
absolutely. It's all satire.
Dark,
you know, it's
dark
all
humor
dark
and-
commentary of like how absurd the world is a lot of times, and it, you know, as it, obviously it gets misunderstood a lot, you know. But
Right.
I think he's brilliant, you know.
Yeah, he's just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing, you know, just people saying or not understanding some of the irony
Yeah.
in his work, but he's also, I mean, how old is he now? He's in his 80s probably.
I'd say he's
Late
probably,
70s?
I mean, he's probably like late 60s, early 70s possibly.
But
That's
like
my
he's still making records, which is,
Yeah.
you know, I think he had a record out just a couple months back.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but that it was like only 8 songs long.
Mhm.
Going back to that, but yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast, man.
What you know, you mentioned, you know, when you're in Nashville, you're able to play full band more or less, and obviously the record is full band. Like, how do you, I guess, transition the songs to
Right.
being acoustic
Sure.
for you whenever you're out on the road? Like, how much?
There's
I
some
mean,
I don't play, you know.
Mhm.
I could, you know, I could play every song. That's one of the benchmarks for me. Like, if it's a good song or not, you can play it on one instrument and still have it sound good. It's a good song.
Right.
When there's some songs that I just don't enjoy as much playing, if it, you know, is on solo acoustic guitar versus, you know, with my electric guitar and, you know.
Right.
So it's a different show definitely when I do a solo acoustic show. It's definitely more like the finger picky storyteller kind of thing. You know, I do a little bit of that, but I have more of a marriage of like the rock and roll show with like the rootsy Americana thing. You know.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the live show is kind of like a blend of like, you know, a heartbreaker show with like Crosby, Stills and Nash, like Ryan Adams, you know, something like that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been rolling for almost an hour here.
Cool.
You good to go?
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, man.